Is out of Atlanta, but she's not originally from Atlanta. She's Dr. Lakeisha Izzard.
LaClisha.
Lakeisha Izzard of Shekinah Consulting. Welcome to Lighthouse Broadcasting. How are you doing today?
Hello, everyone out there in TV land. I am doing wonderful on this morning.
All right, that's fantastic. So we're going to start with just some general questions, then we'll go deep. I want to have you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, maybe your career, and then we'll delve into the connection with your career and mental health and your contributions there. So let's just start with your background. Who are you?
Absolutely. Well, again, everyone, I am Dr. LaClisha Izzard, fondly known by many as Dr. Izzy. Yes, I do have a nickname. But yes, I am originally from Greensboro, North Carolina. So that is my home city. But of course, I have been blessed to be in Georgia almost 20 years. So I consider myself a Georgia peach. Absolutely. So I started out with a few of my adolescent years in Georgia, though, for a short period of time in Decatur, Georgia. We call that Decatur where it's greater.
Yes,
So I
absolutely. I know about that.
I had the opportunity to attend Miller Grove Junior High as well as Columbia High School
Awesome.
for a period during my adolescent years. Moved back to North Carolina, finished out my education there, graduated high school from Walter Hines Page High School in Greensboro, North Carolina, and then went on to Fayetteville State University, which is a great historically Black college in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Absolutely. So I was able to complete there with my bachelor's in psychology. And it was at that time that I knew that psychology, somehow the field of mental health was going to be with me for a very long time. So I matriculated through that program and then went on to North Carolina A&T State University, which is the largest historically Black college in the nation, in the United States of America. So I am a very proud graduate of North Carolina A&T, and I completed my master's in mental health counseling there. And so didn't stop there, ended up moving to Georgia in my early to mid 20s. So I started out as a very young counselor right in DeKalb County. So again, indicator where it's greater.
Okay.
So my first counseling position was actually at DeKalb Community Service Board for DeKalb Addiction Clinic. And I'm so grateful to have had that foundation of clinical knowledge. So I stayed there for about 5 years. Throughout that time, kind of toward the end of that 5 year period, I felt that it was time to transition into another setting around that time. Also felt like it was time for me to get ready to go to another level in my education. And so that was the time that I made the decision to start my doctorate program. Started my doctorate program at Argosy University,
Oh,
Sarasota.
yes, I
Yay!
do too.
In beautiful Sarasota,
Sarasota.
Florida. So you know how beautiful Sarasota is. Absolutely. It was a treat and a joy to be able to take time to go there and fly down there for
Yep,
weekends to learn,
I
but to
love
also get the chance to wind down and go to beautiful Siesta Key Beach.
it. Gotta do that.
Yes, so I was able to complete my doctorate there in 2014 in counselor education and supervision. And so, again, that's been my educational background in psychology, mental health counseling, as well as counselor education. And throughout that entire time, I was working in the community mental health field. And so when I transitioned from DeKalb Community Service Board, I went into the prison setting
Oh,
and actually worked for the only medical prison here in the state of Georgia,
now
which
where's
is
that?
which is the State Medical Prison.
Okay.
in
Okay.
Augusta, Georgia. And I was a mental health counselor there. So learned a lot about the mental health system within our criminal justice system and how that impacts mental health, as well as how it impacts individuals that go through the criminal justice system and receive treatment within the criminal justice system. So again, that's just a little bit of that educational background as it relates to family connection. My beautiful mother, she is a long-term healthcare professional of now almost 30 years. My mother is a very proud CNA. She has served the geriatric population for close to 30 years, as I just said. My father is an essential union worker. He has been a truck driver for many years, started out working on the dock. So again, I have working class parents, but very motivational parents, okay, with strong work ethic and strong faith-based values. And then my beautiful grandmothers, I am the first grandchild. The first grandchild. So, and that is on both sides of my family, so maternal and paternal. So both of my beautiful grandmothers, they've transitioned on now, but they instilled so many beautiful and great things in me. And one of the key things they instilled in me was service. And that was to learn how to serve myself, serve my family, and serve others, and serve
Well,
others.
this is
So I was
awesome.
able to watch them really serve their communities. And that's one of the main reasons why I share with people that service is ingrained. It's literally ingrained in my DNA because I had the opportunity to watch some great women do just that.
Well, that's very awesome. And first off, again, welcome to the Lighthouse Broadcasting community. And I am thrilled that you are alumni with me, with Argosy
Yes.
University. I actually, well, I could show you my little degree thing because I have it like right over here. But yes,
Yay.
Argosy, Sarasota. Oh my gosh! So I'm very excited. You know the challenge. You know what it was like. And so I want that is an excellent segue into the next question about business ownership. Um, is there anything specific about Argosy that had you become a business owner? And more importantly, I know that you mentioned mental health and mental health in the prisons, which that is just phenomenal. And so I wanted to kind of see how those, if you can kind of figure out how you'd mention both of those together, business ownership, and if there is any connection to what you did in the prison systems, or were there failures that you saw in the system that had you decide that you were going to become a business owner? Just kind of navigate us into the thought process of how that happened.
Absolutely. So again, after serving in community-based mental health for close to 10 years, it probably was about 10 years as I was getting close to finishing the doctorate degree. And around that time, yes, just as you said, Dr. Thompson, I was actually transitioning out of the prison system,
Mhm.
going back into community-based mental health, but going back into community-based mental health as a United States veteran counselor.
Okay.
Mm. So we'll get to that part too. But my thought process, even around that time, was I knew that I needed more
Mm.
time.
More time.
More time to do things that where I was having ideas and just so many visions I felt that God was giving me. And at the time, working a 40-hour work week, it just didn't allot me the time that I needed to pursue those things and to see what was really coming from God and to really just take that time to think. And I owe that to one of my beautiful late grandmothers because when I made the decision to come out of working 40 hours a week, she said, well, you know what, baby, now you can think, and that was such a profound statement that she shared with me because literally I had the time to meditate more. I had the time to exercise more. I had the time to pray more. I had the time to really talk to God more. So I understood more of my purpose
Mm.
direction. And so when I started to have those conversations with God, and he was letting me know that I needed to let go of the 40-hour work week, that was God's way of ushering me into becoming an entrepreneur. I didn't know at the time when he was putting that in my spirit to leave the 40-hour work week. I just knew that I had to cut down, do part-time, do something. And so I did. I started out doing some part-time work and supervision because I'm a certified, a supervisor. So started out doing that, was doing some part-time counseling as well. And then after I did that for about a year, that's when I said, okay, and talked to God a little bit more about it. I said, it's time for me to move on into entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And the name of my business is Shakana Counseling. And the reason why it is because I knew that I just wanted to give out God's glory, shower his glory on everything that I wanted to do. And so hence, that's where the name Shakana Counseling came from. And that's where it started. So it was really about having a quality of life, so that again, I could understand even more about my purpose and the direction that God took me in. But you mentioned the Argosy piece, and the Argosy piece was a huge part of that. And that is because what I learned in being a hybrid student, and for those of you out there in TV land that are trying to figure out hybrid student, but yes, our program was part online and part in person. And that was my first time experiencing an educational opportunity like that, which I now understand is educational technology mixed all together in different ways. But again, I didn't, know that. I came from brick and mortar, institutions. So that was a whole new world for me. And so what I was learning was a skill set that I didn't even realize. So by the time I got to my internship, I was doing internship online, which we now know as telemental health supervision. I was also teaching online as a doctorate level student. And I'll never forget, one of my supervisors, my professor, told me at the time, and he actually told the entire doctorate level class this, but he said, look, he said, please do not allow this skill set to just fly to the wind, meaning don't let it go. Make sure that you foster this new skill set that you have, that you nurture this new skill set that you have. And so I thought about that. And as I started my practice, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to be an independent practitioner, but my business is going to be all virtual. And so I started out with that virtual based entrepreneurship mentality. And so everything that I did was virtual, from trainings, from supervision, from counseling to mentoring. Everything that I did was virtual. So I already had the infrastructure. Once COVID-19 hit, I was already prepared. And literally, I received an influx of business because I was already doing everything virtual.
Yeah.
So that's that connection piece.
I mean, I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because it's a piece that we probably don't think of the relevance of it. Probably don't think about the relevance of it until you get into a situation like this. I totally understand how prepared you were. You did not mention the year. Is the year that you actually made the launch into being a business for yourself? Is it okay for you to mention the year? I mean, we can keep it a secret if you don't, but it'd be awesome because I think it's relevant to know how long.
It is relevant.
Yeah. So
It's relevant. I finished the doctorate in late 2014. And like I said, I ended up resigning from my community-based position. I think it was January of 2015.
Okay.
And so majority of that year was the year that I did the part-time work. But by the first of 2016, I had went on full head into an independent practitioner. I've been an independent practitioner ever since.
So you've been an independent practitioner online 4 years before the pandemic. Okay. I'm not going to say anything else. All right. So on that note, I would say that you might be a forerunner. And so this next question that I have for you is a real good question. So that may tie right into that. So it's good to see that more attention is being paid to diversity, equity, and inclusion in mental health circles. Has that translated into more culturally competent or humble care, in your opinion?
Thank you for asking that question. So it kind of goes back to you had mentioned the piece about me working in the prison setting. And
Mm,
so what I didn't mention in working in that particular prison, though, that was an all male prison. Okay. And so, yes, all male prison. And even at the time that I was there, which was in around 2013-ish, around that time,
mm,
but this was a time too where majority of the population of the males in this particular prison was 80% African American male.
mhm,
And that is something that we're still seeing across our nation, different counties, different states, where we see majority of people of color, and even more so African Americans, who have a higher rate, and what we also call there's a disproportionate rate of African Americans who are in the prison system. And actually, the actual statistics for African American men within the United States prison system is 40.2%. So again, we know that is a very, very large number, which is an area that is very much so connected to diversity, equity, and inclusion
mhm,
as we move into this particular question. So we know that in 2020, when we saw the horrific murders of Mr. George Floyd, our very own right here in Georgia, Ahmaud Arbery, as well as the beautiful Breonna Taylor in Kentucky, those things just literally shook our nation to the core, because many of us were at home. People were at home and watching this play out. It's not that we hadn't seen these things possibly happen before, but I think it had a lot to do with more people being able to be still and watch and see these things happening on video and
mm,
actually see that. And so a part of that, I believe, really caused that DEI movement,
mhm,
diversity, equity, and inclusion movement. So then we started to see organizations developing DEI committees. And again, we know that there were DEI officers and things like that at universities and organizations before, but we were not having these kind of in-depth conversations around it and looking at pushing even more solutions because of what we saw as it relates to those horrific murders of African American people. Okay. And so, again, a part of that process as it relates to the mental health field, we started to see how that is affecting individuals' mental health and their state of mind. So when individuals watched that and saw that during that time, it caused a lot of individuals, even more so people of color, to of course have these different mental health related effects. And
mm.
that's something too that we've connected to racial trauma. Okay. So again, anytime you see that there's a discriminatory act or act of injustice that happens to a person of color, that's connected to racial trauma. And
Mm,
so those effects, yeah, they absolutely affect that person's mental and emotional state. And so you're going to see more anxiety. You're going to see that person in more of a survival mode. You're going to see that person distrusting the systems. There's just so many different mental health effects related to racial trauma that is something that we started talking about more when this DEI movement began. And so I also serve on the board of directors for the National Alliance for Mental Illness of Georgia. And that was something that we did. We created a DEI committee. So I was really blessed to be able to be a founding member of that committee and
wow.
actually lead our first virtual series as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion in mental health and mental.
I think I attended that online, of course.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna just segue into this next question, because I believe I've heard probably only from you the term mental health pandemic.
Mm.
And I believe that is, I believe that's where we are now. And I'm not sure how many people are taking that into consideration. And with that, we know that there's a general shortage of mental health professionals in our country, all over the country. Many people and this has been happening with all industries, but especially in mental health. This is, you know, people are waiting in months for an appointment, for their first appointment. Um, and if I want to see a BIPOC clinician,
Mm,
it can take even longer. So, in your opinion, what do you
mm,
think it takes to attract more people of color? Because I guess there's also a shortage of people of color in this
mhm.
profession as well. So, what do you think it would take to attract more people of color in this field? Um, and the APA and the NBCC, and you know, just kind of navigate us through what the needs are. I don't know if you have stats on the numbers, and if not, we can cover that another time. But let's just delve into that.
Yes, absolutely. And that actually connects to with your last question when you were sharing about the cultural humility and cultural competency piece. Because again, even when you're thinking about and looking at areas of DEI, it's an area that is really sensitive.
Mm,
And many times cause some discomfort, you know, when we're having those conversations, because sometimes we hear things that we didn't know that people experience
mm,
or we didn't understand individuals' experiences. And so everyone has their own perspective. They have their own view, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, but these conversations are usually very, very vulnerable. And so
mm,
the cultural competence and humility piece is the piece that we really want to gravitate to. And so now we're shifting a little bit from cultural competence, which we know focuses on understanding another culture besides our own, but
mhm,
we were starting to realize that is there a such thing as really being fully competent, because it's something that we're constantly or we should be constantly working on. And
mm,
so that is the where the phrase of the cultural humility comes in at, because with cultural humility it's focusing on our self humility, it's focused on us being more teachable and listening closely so that we can really empathize, okay, with these other cultures. And we know that that is a process.
mm,
That's a process. And so that's still one of the pieces that is needed as we're talking about how to work on this shortage,
mm,
okay, of mental health professionals, shortage of individuals of color coming into this field. So all of that is a huge piece of it, is learning how to truly be culturally humble in these in the interview processes, in the mentoring programs. And so I've been really blessed to be a part of the American Psychological Association and the National Board of Certified Counselors. They came up with this amazing inaugural mentoring program
mhm,
where they provided fellowships, okay, to students who were working on their counseling degrees or social work degrees
mhm,
and were on tracks of mental health and substance use. And so they offered this minority-based program fellowship to these individual students and gave them the opportunity to be mentored
wow,
by experts in the field like me. And so that is one of the areas that I believe is helping, okay, as it relates to decrease that shortage and bring in more counselors of color. Okay, number one, but also at the same time, it gives us a framework as we start looking at overall how do we work on some of these shortages. And so we know there's some other areas like reciprocity and licensure, and there's some things that are happening in the counseling profession that they're working on that, but it's going to literally be one day at a time.
mm,
And across the state of Georgia, it's something that we've been advocating for quite some time. Nami, it has been a part of their priorities for the last several years. Okay, it was a priority this year for Mental Health Day at the Capitol, as we're looking at the rural areas of Georgia and how there are some areas they don't even have a psychiatrist, they don't have a psychologist. They may have only a few licensed counselors or a few licensed clinical social workers. So we understand that this is a critical area, which is why we're working toward bills related to mental health to come in and support funding. Okay, so again, that we can continue to work on this process and see what we can do to fill those gaps, because Georgia is 48th in the nation for access to health care.
wow. I kind of made an interesting face when you mentioned the shortage, because I know in education, for example, there's definitely a if you are going to be a university that offers degrees, there's an entrance test that many students have to take by law and by standard commission. You're not really allowed to give a student an entrance test without there being a licensed counselor on staff. It is in other words, it's part of the framework of education. So, I kind of made a funny face when you mentioned that, because I'm like, yeah, they're needed in a lot of places. They're needed in churches now. It's interesting. I want to now go back to your background again, because you've done so much. I don't know how I mean, you're talking about mentoring people and starting your own business. I don't know how you have the time to do all this, but so here's the thing. Your background displays a great deal of service work. And so would you consider yourself a servant leader, or a transactional leader, or just kind of describe your leadership style first? And I know that you can do that because you're Argosy, and so we know the differences. But just consider which one fits you. And then, of course, as you think about that, tell us a little bit about the service work that you've done, and if you received any recent awards that we should know about. So let's have that discussion.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thompson, for that question as well. Absolutely, I consider myself to be a servant leader, and I do consider myself to be a servant leader first. And again, that goes back to what I shared with you about my personal background and being able to see my beautiful late grandmothers as community champions. My grandmothers, they served their communities with what they had. Like I said, they were not what we would call elected officials in their community, but they absolutely were go-to, go-to people. Absolutely. And so again, that piece of servanthood is absolutely ingrained in me. And so that's something that I constantly think about in leadership, in ways that I can really serve, in ways that I can be humble, in ways that I can literally pull up my sleeves and put my hands on people. Okay, because that makes a huge difference in your connection with individuals, making sure that we are identifying the needs, okay, and that we are working toward meeting those needs. And so that's the type of leader that I am. I want to sow into my community. And the truth of the matter is, if we expect to receive anything back from our communities, we have to ensure that we are sowing into our communities. And what that means is meeting the needs of the community, talking to the people in the community, and truly being for the people. So absolutely, number one, I'm a servant leader. But number two, I'm also a transformational leader.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Because I want to see change.
Yeah.
When there are things that are going on that are challenges, such as whether it's in DEI, whether it's in mental health, whatever the case may be, usually whatever causes I'm for, it's going to be bipartisan, or it's going to be on both sides, because it literally is a human issue, a people issue. That needs to be addressed. So absolutely transformational, because I realize that if certain policies and things don't change, then how will we truly meet the needs of the people? And because I am a mental health professional, I've seen so many hurting people, so many hurting families, so many hurting children, okay? I do mental health trainings for foster and adoptive families, just about every other month. I've been doing it for the Georgia Resources Center of Support. This is my 7th year, okay? They were congratulating me the other week. They said, "Oh, Dr. Ilsa, you've been with us for quite some time." But again, it's something, again, that is near and dear to my heart, because I want to see these families thrive. And I also understand that these children, they have serious traumatic backgrounds. And so the parents, they have to understand how to work with the children in their custody, as well as understand how to take care of their own mental health as a parent. So again, that's very important to me. So that piece, again, about the transformation and the service, all of that usually comes together for me in the service work that I do. And you said, how are you balancing doing all of these things? Again, I have my time, Dr. Thomas. because I am an entrepreneur, I can build my schedule the way that I want to build it so that I can fit the things that are high priority in and I can go down my list. So absolutely time management is huge for me. Okay. SMART goals are huge for me, specific, measurable, timeable, realistic.
Yeah.
Okay, look, all those things we
They
learned in
still
our
work.
doctorate program. We have to implement them, and the very things that I teach my clients, okay, I use them as well. And I let them know that all the time. How can I teach you something and let you know that it's effective if I'm not using it for myself? So absolutely, I'm not just going to preach it or teach it.
You're a
I'm going to
practitioner.
exactly. I'm going to utilize it for myself. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, you mentioned about any service awards. I was really, really blessed on last year, 2021. Literally, that was a year that I just literally felt God's anointing as He was really walking with me all last year because truly, all last year, God, He made certain changes. So even though I was already a practitioner and already a counselor leader and doing so many amazing things, He shifted me to becoming a community leader.
Okay.
And so I was so grateful to God for showing me that and walking me through that process and how He did that. So, one of the first awards, though, that I was blessed to be able to receive was a part of my counseling organization that I'm a founding member of, which is the American Counseling Association of Georgia. And so, because I was a founding member and was able to get in during my presidential year and do a lot of historic things, I was blessed with a service award for my leadership and advocacy in that. And then I moved on, Nami, Georgia. They were so awesome again with this DEI leadership that they entrusted in my hands and leading this virtual courageous conversation series the
Very good.
entire year of 2021, where we were able to collaborate with over 30 community stakeholders across the state of Georgia. Okay, so that was huge. So within these courageous conversations, we did panel discussions. And so that's something too that I'm really been blessed with, that gift of collaboration and building community partnerships. And it was something I did too for the counseling profession I was a part of during my presidential term. I collaborated that year during my presidential term with over 25 community stakeholders that year. So total all the way up until now, probably close to over 50 or more community stakeholders and community partnerships I've been able to build through my service work and leadership. So I'm really, really grateful for that. But so, yeah, so Nami, Georgia, they honored me with a Nami President's Award, and that was for my innovative leadership as a DEI committee founding member and being able to lead that very important series. And then just when I thought, okay, we're getting closer to the end of the year, because during my time as a counselor leader and president for the organization that I was with, I also had collaborated with NAMI to develop a counselor support group.
Oh,
That was in 2020 when I started that group. And once my presidential term ended with the counseling organization, NAMI, they loved that idea so much that they picked it up as one of their signature programs for NAMI, Georgia. So that counselor support group is continuing to go on. And of course, we know as mental health professionals and counselors, we're essential workers.
yes,
And
we are.
because
First
when those
responders sometimes too.
yes, exactly. Thank you. I'm so glad you said that. So there's a lot of things that we take on mentally and emotionally too. And so we need our own support system as well. And so I was able to continue to carry that on. I even restructured it in such a way that I was able to put others in leadership to be the lead facilitator. So I was able to move myself out of being lead facilitator and put another licensed counselor as well as a co-facilitator.
That's mentoring. Yeah.
Yes. And so, look, I could have a little bit more time back again, but I invested almost 2 years into that. And I have to give a great shout out to my co-facilitator at the time. Her name is Mara Collerford, and she's a counselor up in North Georgia. And so she was right there with me as my co-facilitator. And we walked that thing out for almost 2 years before I handed the torch over to others. And so Nami, Georgia surprised me at our annual conference in October with the Outstanding Leader of the Year award because of implementing that program and continuing to be a program leader over that program for helping professionals and counselors. And so I was so grateful again to receive that. And just when I thought that God wouldn't surprise me again, of course he did just that. So that was in October. December came around. I was
We
blessed.
still got one more month.
Look. December came around and I'm thinking, okay, we're at the end of the year,
Right.
I was so blessed though that November, my county commissioners, my board of commissioners for my county, which is Newton County, Georgia, they appointed me to the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health Advisory Council, okay, as the only Newton member. And I know that I'm the first counselor as well as the first counselor leader, and I'm sure so much more to be a part of that council. But even throughout that, I was able to start building a relationship with my county leaders, okay? And so they discovered the type of work that I had been doing throughout the community all of this time and connecting and collaborating with all of these community stakeholders across the state. And I ended up being in the position to get nominated for their historic One Newton Award because we were celebrating our 200th founding year, okay, in 2021. So they created this award slate so that individuals in the community who are doing great service work, they could be honored. So again, I was blessed again by our local Nami affiliate to nominate me for that. And then the Newton County residents, they voted. They voted on the individuals who they felt should win based upon their community service. So I ended up was tied with one of our amazing county leaders as well, which was our county clerk. But again, we both won the award because we both had did great work. So we both won the historic One Newton Award. And we don't know if that award will ever be given out again. So I am just so grateful. And I received that, like I said, due to the votes of the Newton County residents and looking at my work with diverse communities and collaborations across the state. So last year I was truly blessed to win 4 service awards.
And so you're making me think I need to interview everybody Argosy that I know, because somehow or another, I'm thinking that Argosy kind of gave us a head start in a way.
Yes.
And a head start even on this pandemic, so that while people are trying to figure it out, you're already doing the work. It's not a matter of, oh, you're just there because we know you know. There's like a long track record of crumbs that people can follow and see that Dr. Izzy was here too. Oh, she was here too. And if you follow that, it would lead you to all these awards. So really, congratulations. You were definitely not asleep. What do they have that term, woke? You are definitely woke.
Indeed. Yes, the whole year of 2021.
It's evident. There's so much more that I can say about that. But I know that you're not done. And so I figure you're working on more service awards. So or service events. Maybe I'm speaking into existence.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, but you're working on more events. I know that you are. There's no way that you couldn't be. So can you share just a few with us, a little appetizer, and then we just have one more question that we're just gonna, and we'll wrap up, because I believe that, you've covered so much. We could be talking for about 2 hours. So
thank you.
Tell us about the service things that you have coming up. what we're looking forward to, please.
Well, in one of my events that I've been doing for now, this will be the third year, and I didn't mention that before, but I started this particular event too during my time as president for the Counseling Association, and then Nami also picked it up last year. But this is my African American Male Wellness
Oh yes.
Symposium.
Oh yes. See.
Huge, 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 huge. And I'm just so grateful that again, that God put that vision in my heart to move forward with that. First year it went really, really well. Keynote that I had was our Georgia State NAACP president, which was Reverend James Woodall. So again, just so grateful to him for coming out. I always have 7 male speakers, including the surprise keynote. So again, we went on and we did it again last year under Nami, Georgia, as the African American Male Mental Health Symposium.
Okay.
I was blessed to have our keynote to be Fulton County Sheriff Patrick Labatt.
Okay, good. Awesome.
What a
Awesome.
treat. He did an amazing, amazing job as well. And everything went great again on last year. So I think we ended up having about 200 to attend virtually live stream because we've always did it live stream.
Men,
And
200 men.
we had about 200 to attend, 200 attendees.
Okay.
So I'm sure it was a mixture of men and women because we need the women there too. We want
Oh
them to
yeah,
learn too.
but you're still rallying the men towards greatness. This
Yes.
is awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And so that went really well. Again, it's on YouTube. I'll share that with you so that we can share it with those who are joining in with us on today. But that went really, really well. And so again, this year, I've already planned it.
Do you have a date?
And so my date is June the 25th,
Okay.
2022.
Okay.
So Saturday, June the 25th, 2022 from 10 a.m. till about 2:15. Our amazing keynote, I can go ahead and share our surprise keynote because we'll start marketing probably within the next 4 weeks or so. But our keynote is going to be Newton County Board of Commissioner Dr. Damon Mason. And he's done amazing community work, just amazing community work. He's also over a youth leadership program for African American young males. He's also a mentor for a youth mentoring program for young African American males. So we are so excited to hear him. So that's one of my huge events that I'm working on for this year. But absolutely, there will be even more to come, but wanted to absolutely share that particular one because I'm just so grateful that we are now in year 3. And I'm grateful for my host organizations in the past. Like I said, the American Counseling Association of Georgia, ACA National, who believed in my vision to do that during my presidential year, as well as NAMI Georgia for believing in me and allowing me to do it under their organization last year. And this year, I'll be doing it under my own business this year under Shakana Counseling. And I do have great sponsors this year, DBHDD, as well as Cure Source. They've come on board to assist me. So again, just going to be another great year and another great time to validate our African American men and
Yeah.
share with them so much valuable information that they need.
Awesome. And I know towards the end or sometime soon, you're going to share with us that specific website or link or Cash App or something where if people want to support and add, because I know you said you have some sponsors, but there might be just some genuine interest where people just want to do something, even if they can't physically be there. And so my final question for you today, we're going to get to the donation segment in a second, but because people need to do something. All right. But what do you feel you're currently doing to influence others and leave a legacy? What?
That's a powerful question. And so, of course, in addition to all of the beautiful service work that I've been blessed to be a part of and to have visions to walk out, I made the decision to run for public office. So,
Oh, yeah.
yes, so I
Congratulations
am.
for making the decision.
Yes, Yes, indeed. So because of my foundation in the community service work, and because I do have a heart for the community, and
Mhm.
because I have served so many hurting people for close to 20 years, that is what helped to foster, as well as us being in a mental health crisis. And you spoke about
Yeah.
the mental health pandemic before. And what research has really been showing us, Dr. Thompson, is that while we're in a mental health crisis, we are edging to a mental health pandemic.
Mhm.
And the research says that as soon as we get to a place of post-COVID, we will see that more and more, which we've already started to see it with the increased rates of suicide, individuals ending their life by suicide, high profile figures, young African American males, even. We've just been seeing a lot of that. And so again, we know that we are a nation that's hurting.
Mhm.
Literally, we are a nation that's hurting and we need the tools. We need the tools. So mental health is literally on the radar of so many people's minds. I've never heard it this much on radios, on television, on and just in media in general, as much as I'm hearing it now. I think I was looking at something on the news probably around the holidays, and I heard them mention the National Alliance of Mental Illness. And I was like, whoa, you know. So again, it is literally, I think, at the forefront of many individuals' minds right now. And so as a mental health professional, and I know that mental health is my gift, I want to ensure that this next step that I'm taking and moving into public office, that I lend my voice, that I
Mhm.
really lend my voice to this and some of the other areas, of course, that I've been able to see where we need more support, such as sustainable economic development, such as public safety improvements. So yes, I made the decision to run for Georgia State House. And I am running in the district of District 93, which covers a little bit of DeKalb County, Rockville County, and of course, my home county, Newton County. So this is an area that I really feel that I'm going to be able to make a greater impact. I'm going to have the influence that is needed to be able to share with so many different people based upon my experiences that I've already had. And this is a way for me to help even more, to help at a higher level, and to be able to reach more people and impact more people with the gifts that I've been given.
Wow. Well, this has been an absolutely awesome day. Please share with us ways that people can help make, I want to say your dreams come true, but it's almost like by helping your dreams come true, you're helping other people's dreams to come true. So I kind of want to say, let's tell us how we can help make our own dreams come true by helping you. I mean, that's kind of where this is going. I mean, it's not like this is happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just how can we get involved in this?
Absolutely. So feel free if you would like to support me. Absolutely. I have a strong web presence. You're welcome to Google my beautiful long name, which is Dr. LaKlisha Izzard, which is Laklieshia. And the last name is Izzard, Izzard. Very unique last name. You cannot miss that. But you can follow me on Facebook with that name as well, also on Twitter. And then again, my website, Shakana Counseling as well, if you want to learn more about my background and service and business and all of that good stuff. But as far as for the campaign, you can follow me. Like I said, on Facebook, all of the information is on there that you need, campaign website, all of that good stuff. You can find it right there.
Awesome. Well, I hate to end, but we are at the end of our interview. Um,
Yay! Thanks,
I
everybody.
have tons of things that I can ask you, but I'm hoping that we can have you come back on again on Lighthouse Broadcasting and share with us some more insight. There's so many things that you said that we probably can piggyback on, but I do appreciate first your contribution and your interest to even share with us on our platform. We're very honored to have you. And of course, in my selfish way, and I'm saying selfish, I'm so happy that we have an alumni from my alma mater.
You
That's
never know these
You
things
never
until
know
you have
these
an
things
interview.
until it just happens. And so I'm just pleased about what it is you're doing and where you're going. And I just look forward to having more discussions with you on the journey. I would love to just tag along and just celebrating your success. So continue doing what you're doing. Please don't stop.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thomas. This was a pleasure. And to all of you out there in TV land, absolutely any way that I can support, feel free to reach out to me. But yes, mental health is not just my passion, it is my gift to share with the world.
It is. Thank you again. Everyone, it's Dr. LaCliché.